everybody, Sandy here from Sandi Cooks. I'm going to start a new meal here. Should be a quick one, probably about half an hour. I'm going to do a stir fry tonight. But a lot of people ask me how I decide what I want to make when I'm going to be cooking. And today it was really simple. I'll show you. I just got a package from the grocery store that I saw when I was shopping this last week that had a bunch of mixed vegetables that is good for stir frying. So that's what we're going to do. Going to do this stir fry tonight, but I got a problem. My meat's frozen. Just took it out of the freezer. So my oven's got an option here on it where you can do this turbo defrost. It won't defrost it all the way, but it will take it a good part of the way. And then you can hit it for like 30 seconds more, maybe on each side, but you want to just be really careful in the microwave because you don't want to overcook things. All right, I just pulled this out of the microwave after that turbo defrost. You can see it's clearly much more defrosted than the other one, but it's still frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it for 30 seconds, and we'll see how it is then. It's okay if it's still cold and it's still a little frozen in the middle. On the wok, in the high heat, it will cook. Plus, we're going to go for medium rare on the meat anyway, so you don't want it cooked all the way through. All right, let's see that now. Take this out. You can see now, well, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it's softer now. It's not completely frozen. That's what we want. Okay, so I can work with that now. Now it's time to do the other one. Then I can really get started. So these are all the veggies we're going to do. The prepackaged veggies are great, but there's not enough onions in here. It also doesn't have things to flavor the oil that we're going to be cooking in. So yes, we're going to use this. That's a big part of it. But I'm going to cut up some onion as well, and we're going to flavor our oil with some fresh ginger and some fresh garlic. And then we're going to, at the very end, we're going to just dress it with some green onions at the end. Okay, starting with the ginger. I'm going to take this piece here, put that over here. There's lots of ways to clean ginger. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Doesn't work well with a peeler. Lots of people use a spoon. I've seen that done to scrape the skin off. I know people don't like to waste. I understand that. But I'll be honest too, it's a royal pain in the butt really to, you have to clean some of this out of here anyway. To try and scrape it all clean, especially when you've got a pretty wobbly, or not wobbly, knobby piece of ginger. This is probably not going to be quite big enough. I'll take another small piece here, just because I had to cut that little piece of discolored part out. I'm just going to cut this into thin strips. I don't know, about a millimeter, 2 millimeters thick at most. We're going to use those, do a little bit more here to flavor our oil before we start cooking our vegetables and meat in it. And that will make a big difference in the overall flavor of the dish, as opposed to just throwing the garlic in with the stir fry. One of the potential issues there is, well, you could overwhelm it. You often will burn the ginger or garlic when you do that, and when you do, it gets a bitter taste, and that's no good. All right, so there's our ginger. Garlic's next. When you're cooking garlic in a stir fry like this, and it's not part of the final food that you're going to serve, it's just flavoring the oil, all you need to do is smash your garlic, and you're not going to chop it at all. It's just going to go in like that. And the ginger and the garlic are going to go in together. That's why I'm putting them in the same bowl. You may have heard a fancy term watching cooking shows. Ooh, bad spot. Cut those out. Don't leave that stuff in. You may have heard a fancy term on cooking shows called mise en place. All it means is getting all your stuff together before you begin. And it can really help. And we're just going to do a thin chop on these. And, whoops, I'm not going to, I don't know if I should tell you guys about like knife techniques or stuff, but it's just kind of a down, forward, down, forward, down, forward. Keep your fingers out of the way. You can keep them curled back if you want them close to the knife. I just try and keep control of the onions themselves. Ginger back away. Hello, Tispy. Again, that's our 16-year-old dachshund Tisp. All right, now the meat. Okay, so we got our meat here. These are both New York strip steaks that I got at the grocery store a while ago and put them in the freezer. So we got to cut these bones out. We also don't want all this fat in there. And if there's any connective tissue that we really don't like, we want to get that out as well. I'm going to start with this bone. Get this out of here. It almost comes out by itself. You can see I'm pulling it away. It's just coming out. And while I'm here, I'll just go around this edge. Okay. There's another bone over here that's fairly big. To that there. Okay. Cut off some of this fat. Trim this off. Normally on a steak, you want this fat. It's going to add flavor. But in the wok, we've got all these other flavors, and it's just going to take away. You can see there's kind of a big piece of fat there. Because nobody's going to be cutting this and putting it in their mouth, it's okay to trim it down like that. Nobody's going to know, because what I'm going to do here is cut it like that, and these are going to become our pieces of meat. And they're, I don't know, about half an inch wide, I would say. We don't want them too thin, because otherwise they're going to cook way too fast, and they're going to get overcooked, and it's going to be dry and chewy, and nobody's going to enjoy it. Okay, here, when I cut through that, there was a piece of sinew here. That was that connective tissue that I was warning about that I don't like. And there's a little piece on the end here. So let's get rid of those so that nobody gets a nasty bite. Okay. And of course, I'm trying to make them, well, I was going to say fork size, but we're going to use chopsticks because we use chopsticks in my family. So, all right, that's the first one. Going to do the next one. My wok out, I haven't put any oil in it yet. There's my green onions, my ginger, and my garlic. My meat's prepped. My veggies, I've got some sesame oil, some teriyaki sauce that I found a couple months ago at the store that we really, really liked. And we're going to need some cornstarch to thicken things up. And then we're going to use some oil that has a high smoke point. I'm using grapeseed oil for that. You want to use very high smoke temperature oils when you're cooking in a wok. Because otherwise your oil will burn and then everything will taste bitter. Okay, so we're going to get started here. I'm going to turn my wok on high. Oh, by the way, let me turn this off for a second. I've got something really cool on this stove. I'm sure a lot of stoves don't have it. Actually, I have no idea. But some of the burners, at least 2 of them, have these center sections that you can take out specifically so that you can get a pan lower and closer to the fire. For wok cooking, that's really important because you want your wok as hot as you can get it. You want it screeching hot when you're cooking. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Here's my grapeseed oil. I just picked up this squirt bottle literally last week at the grocery store. A little bit more. Really easy, so makes things convenient. I'm going to let that heat up for a minute or two. Then we're going to add the garlic and ginger, and everything's going to go quickly at that point. Okay, our wok is hot now, and what I did, I got over here and I can literally see smoke coming off of it, so it is ready to go. We're going to move quickly. Oh, shoot. I forgot to add a little bit of sesame oil. This is powerful stuff. You don't want too much, but it is great flavoring, especially when you're making, when you're doing stir fry. All right, here is our garlic and our ginger. Throw that in there. Grab a spoon here, and we are just going to let that do its thing. As soon as it's starting to go a little bit deeper than brown, we want to get it. Oh, I didn't want to get rid of that bowl. I need somewhere to put this, because we're not going to leave this in our stir fry, because it'll be bitter, it'll be overpowering, but we do want the flavor in the oil. It makes a big, big difference in your stir fry. All right, that's literally enough. All I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna pull this stuff out so that we just have our oil left. Now, remember I added some oil there before we got started, and that ended up being important because you can see that at the end of pulling those out, I'm not left with a ton of oil. So that's important to make sure you've got enough when you start. All right, so now we're gonna go and hit these veggies. And these will, of course, these will take a few minutes. We're going to do these veggies for about 5 minutes or so. We're going to remove them. We're going to cook the meat. And then we're going to put it all back together with the teriyaki sauce. Like I said, I don't know if I showed you this. This is a really yummy teriyaki sauce I found at the grocery store a few months ago and tried it because I wasn't happy with the teriyaki sauce I had. And it's yummy. We'll use about half of that. We don't want these vegetables mushy. We want them still crunchy, or to have a crunch when you bite into them. But we also want them cooked, or at least halfway cooked. So maybe that. Ooh, I just realized, I just saw something. My family hates green peppers. Hates, hates, hates. Except in my chili. I'm taking these out. Nobody wants this. Why make anybody dig through it later? Alright, those are looking good. Veggies look done. I do have one problem here. I'll show you. Or a couple problems. This veggie mix, take this off for a second. This veggie mix has celery in it, which isn't really great in my opinion for a stir fry. I'm not going to get rid of it though, but these are way too big to serve. So I'm going to cut these real quick, and I may toss them in at the end of the meat to cook them just a little bit more. It's actually, when I cut it, I could feel it. It actually feels cooked fine. So I'm not going to worry about that, but I did cut them. So there we go. And I'm going to add just a little bit more oil here. Don't worry that it's not going to have the flavor. Everything will be combined. Everything will cook together, and that's when the flavor's all going to come together. Let's just let that get hot, though. Yeah, it's smoking already. Alright, the meat's going to go quickly because we do not want overcooked meat. So keep it moving. We want, in my house, rare to medium rare, more to the rare side. And but I know there are people who cannot stand rare meat or medium rare, and if you feel the need to cook it all the way to medium or further, go ahead. But in my opinion, you're totally missing out on both the texture and flavor of the meat by cooking it that far. Okay. So, I've got the cornstarch out, so I can make a real quick slurry of cornstarch and water, which we will use to thicken this when we're done. I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon here, basically. Add some cold water to this. I'll be right back. Okay, it's cold water. Just mix it till it all dissolves. You want it all dissolved, no clumps. That is really important. It's super easy, but you got to do it, because otherwise you'll get clumps of cornstarch, and nobody wants to bite into that. Okay, now, it's also possible I don't have enough here. Last time I made this, I had to make a little bit more cornstarch to finish it. So, we'll see when we get there. Okay, that meat is basically done. I'm going to add our veggies back in. I'm going to give this some shakes. And I'm going to add about half this bottle in here, because we like it saucy. There you go. Make sure everything is coated. And we want that to cook down a little bit on its own before we thicken it, so that the flavor intensifies. That's why you cook things down, because it intensifies the flavor. You'll see me do that, well, I'll tell you in the future when I'm making stuff, but this is one of the reasons we're doing this. Now, but you gotta be careful, because now we're boiling everything. So we don't want to cook our meat and everything too much more. So we really want to give it, 30 seconds or so here. And now I'm going to hit it with our slurry. That's our cornstarch. Mix that in. You'll see it start to thicken right away. The question is, will it thicken enough? There, now it's starting to thicken. You see that. All right, well, that's it. Back into our bowl here to serve. Okay. Hit this with our spring onions on top. Whoops. And that's it. And as I mentioned before, in our house, it's time to eat when I yell, dinner! Okay, so normally I would actually serve this with rice, but we've all been kind of sick in the house the last few days, so that would have been way too much food. So I did this without rice. So it's not going to look as pretty as it normally does. But there you go, stir fry. Now I'll burn my tongue for you. Oh, that is good. All right, have a good night. I got the plate here for the cat. When he shows up, we're good to go. Enjoy.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. To make sure you don't miss any Sandi Cooks videos, subscribe to this channel.